We wait for 1 minute longer because we have a very interesting session before this one. So it allows us for people to join us, to find a way to select a nice session to attend. In the meantime, I start recording this session. So because this is the first parallel session, I have some announcements to make. Well, first, please use the full screen mode. That gives a better view at the presentations in a few moments. So if not already done that, go to the icon right below and select the full screen mode. Normally, it's you have the tiled or thumbnail as standard setting. So please switch to the full screen mode for the best view of the presentation. You are attending this meeting about the impact of the Superlocal project on our educational program. So very welcome. Well, you are part of the audience, and you of course are able to ask questions. And I ask you to drop your questions in the chat. And as the chair of this session, I will address these questions. It's I think I wait for another minutes. So I'd like to start this presentation. Very welcome. My name is John van Oorschot. I'm a senior researcher and lecturer at the Zuid University of Applied Science. I am part of the research center Smart Urban Redesign, and in this research center we are focusing on research about in three programs about circular building technology, sustainable energy in the built environment, and urban transformations. And we do not very artistically in one program line. We try to combine these program lines, and this is very much visible also in the Superlocal project. And Zuid was part of the Superlocal project, and we were responsible actually as a monitor of the project. And just every time asking the questions to the project team, okay, are we on the right track? Is this the most circular solution? Is this circular at all? And at the same time, based on this project, we also try to teach our future generation of construction professionals how to develop projects in a circular way. So in this respect, what we want to achieve is that we have a real impact with the Superlocal project. So there's not only the environmental impact and the impact on building technologies, processes, and the supply chain, and the collaboration between the supply chain partners, the economic feasibility, and the social acceptance, but also, and these two are in a different color of green, they are often forgotten, is what's the impact also on society and also on the impact on education. Well, the first aspects are part of different sessions later today, but in this session, I want to very much focus on the impact of this project on our educational project. What did we did in our program with this project, and how did we fit in our students? Well, I've collected some numbers in this tables. How we did that? Well, actually, we did not only try to link this project to our own to the education program of the academy, which I'm part of, the built environment, but we also try to involve students and lecturers from other academies and even other institutes. And we developed various educational activities over the 4 years that students are attending our program. So this is ranging from a first introduction in year 1 and 2 of the program to really participating in the projects as part of a graduation project in year 4. And well, to give a good example about what in the end the impact is about this approach, is that well, we believe that making this real transition to a circular building sector is that we need to train our young professionals. And well, actually, already in the super local project, we had a graduation student who was an intern at the contractor part of this project, and he was doing his master thesis under their supervision, and he did it very good job, and it ends up with a job proposal from the contractor, and he was really part of the project and really at the forefront of developing these and implementing these technologies. So that was a very nice example. As of course, we are very proud of that we could achieve this with our students itself. Another good example is also here today. That's Niels Peters. I invited him to be part of this session, to have a to show his first-hand experience with studying and working in the super local project. So I like to offer the screen to Niels, and Niels, we need to turn on your microphone again, and if you start sharing your screen, your presentation, mine will vanish from the screen.
Yes, I'm going to share my screen.
In the meantime, if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat. Also, if you have any good suggestions, maybe we are missing things in our educational program. Maybe if you have some nice suggestions, also they are very welcome, and drop them in the chat. And Niels, please continue the presentation.
Yes, thank you very much. One question: is my screen visible right now?
It seems to work.
Okay, perfectly. Well, as Mr. van Oorschot already announced, I'm Niels Peters. I'm an alumnus of Zuid University of Applied Sciences, and I graduated around in about 2 months ago. So last week, my former teacher, Mr. van Oorschot, well, he invited me to present on this Crossing Boundaries conference and to share my experiences with the Superlocal project, and to reflect on the lessons learned in comparison to the more conventional school projects. In order to do so, I will first tell you something about a minor project I did in second year of education called Serial Housing Construction. Afterwards, I'm going to tell you something about my bachelor thesis. And at the end of this presentation, I will give a short reflection on the lessons learned in regards to the Superlocal project. And I want to make a small disclaimer. It's been around in about 6 years now since I spoke English on a daily basis, so please forgive me for any errors that I make. My English is a bit rusty. So first of all, the minor project called Serial Housing Construction. This was a project in my second year of education on Zuid University, and the Superlocal project was still in a startup phase back then. I believe it was called the indexation phase. And it basically means that all the stakeholders and all the professionals working on Superlocal in real time, they were still experimenting with different techniques, building techniques and ideas. And they asked the students from Zuid University to think along with them and help them in this process. So that is basically what the minor project was all about. It was a group project, and it consisted out of two parts. First of all, we were asked to design 2 different house types, and secondly, we were asked to design an urban development plan. Regarding the house designs, basically the central question that was being asked within this part of the project was, is it possible to demolish the high-rise flats that were still present in the area back then in such a way that the concrete shells of the individual apartments could be reused and could be used to create new ground-bound homes. The image on the right is very clear in that regard, because it shows how such a concrete shell has been sawn out of the flat and lifted and put on the ground. And with the use of these concrete shells, we were asked to design 2 different house types. Secondly, we were asked to develop and design an urban development plan for the superlocal project based on our own vision and our own research. So let's start off with the house designs. I will not go into any detail here due to the time frame I have for this presentation. But with these 2 images, I want to show you that we worked on a demolishing method, which can be seen on the left. And basically, we figured out what the best way of demolishing the flat would be in order to create new homes on the ground. And these drawings are quite technical, so I won't go into very much detail, but I would like to show you this architectural render. And this is the design that we eventually came up with. This is one of the house types that we designed, intended for 1-family homes. Secondly, we developed an urban development plan. Once again, I won't go into any detail, but I would like to show you this architectural render. And then my bachelor thesis. We skip 2 years now. We skip ahead 2 years, and I did my graduation project on superlocal. And it was commissioned by the Smart Urban Redesign Research Center from Zuid University. And in my bachelor thesis, I answered the following research question. What can the design of a community center look like that exemplifies the circular economy and strengthens the social cohesion in the neighborhood? And in order to answer this question, I used the community center, which is part of the superlocal project, as a case study. And it was called the so-called social plinth. And why did I use this specific community center as a case study? Well, because within the superlocal project, there are multiple topical themes combined, being circular building or circularity as a whole, and strengthening the social cohesion. And the Smart Urban Redesign Center ought to be very interesting that these topical themes, which are present in every contemporary construction project, that these are combined. And they basically asked me if I wanted to make my own design for this community center based on my own research, so that I would develop my own vision and to compare that with what was being done in real time. So, as I told, I did a bit of research on 2 themes, being circular design of a circular building and social cohesion. And this research eventually led to me being able to establish and develop a so-called design checklist. So first of all, as you can see on this slide, I developed a circular design checklist. And this checklist basically contains 4 circular design principles that can that are translated into a couple of preconditions and requirements and guidelines that can be used as a design tool for designing circular buildings. I also developed a so-called social design checklist, and once again, these are some preconditions and guidelines that can be used to develop or design a building that facilitates social interaction and thus strengthens social cohesion within a neighborhood. And these design checklists, both of them, they served as a basis and as a design tool that I used in order to design the community center for the Superlocal project. So after doing a lot of sketching, puzzling with ideas, elaborating with my supervisor, I eventually came up with the following design. This is the building concept that I came up with, and as you can see in this image, I need to find my laser pointer, is that the building basically consists out of two parts. The left part, with the letters of Super Social written on the windows, is the social heart of the building, and this is the place where people can meet each other and come together. And the most right part of the building, it's intended for multifunctional use. And once again, I won't go into very much detail due to the time frame of this presentation, but I would like to point out that the building is designed in such a way that the front facade, which is directed to the central park of the Superlocal side, it has been designed in a very open and transparent way, using this massive glass curtain wall that covers the whole length of the building. In contrast is the backside of the building, the rear facade, which has been designed in a much more closed way, using wooden panels. And this is to ensure that the privacy on this side is present and isn't being harmed. I would like to show you this image as well, because although the building is split up into two different parts, I think this image portrays perfectly how the visual interaction between the two different parts is still present. People that are standing in this part of the building, the social heart, they can look all the way into the most right part of the building concept, of the building design. So in this part of the presentation, I will reflect upon the lessons learned. What did I learn from the two projects that I did in regard to Superlocal? And I will do that by answering the following questions. What competencies have you been able to develop, and what insights have you gained from the Superlocal project? And to be quite fair with you, that is a pretty hard question, because normally you don't think about things you learned, you only think about the things that you have would have done differently if you could do the project once again. But I think I came up with a couple of good insights and good skills that I was able to develop and gain from the Superlocal project. First of all, insight in the concept of a circular economy. In my opinion, circularity and the concept of a circular economy are completely underexposed in the current study program. This, despite the fact that circularity plays a very important role in every contemporary construction project, especially in view of the requirements that are imposed by the Dutch government. For example, the government expressed the ambition for the Dutch economy to be fully or completely circular by the year of 2050. So basically, no matter how you look at it, circularity will play a role in every future building project. And in a way, Superlocal forced me to delve into circularity and into the concept of a circular economy, and prepared me better prepared me better for the future, my professional career, than any other conventional school project would have done. Secondly, how to translate an abstract concept like social cohesion into a physical building concept. And this point relates in particular to my graduation project or my bachelor thesis. While writing my thesis, I did research on the concept of social cohesion, and I discovered that I basically discovered how abstract this really is. And by doing this research, I have been able to develop and establish a social design checklist, which can be used as a design tool. And with the help of this checklist, buildings can be created that facilitate social interaction and henceforth creates or strengthens social cohesion in a neighborhood. And that is definitely something that I wouldn't have learned without the Superlocal project. Thirdly, an insight in the complexity of contemporary construction projects. Superlocal has made it clear to me, like no other school project has done, that how complex a construction project can be or become. Within the Superlocal project, a myriad of topical issues or themes are combined. For example, think of circularity, social cohesion, sustainability, and so on. And in any other conventional school project, there is one single problem that can be solved in a fixed way. Within the Superlocal project, this isn't the case. There are multiple themes combined, and therefore there are also many or much more problems and issues that need to be solved. There's not one fixed way of doing things. And besides that, when you solve one problem, it has consequences for all the other things. And that's definitely an important insight that I gained from the Superlocal, from working on the Superlocal project. And this brings me to the next point, the creative thinking or thinking out of the box. Because there are so many problems that need to be solved within the Superlocal project, in a way you are forced to adapt your way of thinking. You really need to think out of the box in order to be able to solve these problems. And although that is not really easy to adapt your way of thinking, I think due to the Superlocal project, I have been able to develop this skill. And last but not least, there is a high-level learning impact due to the real-time and realistic character of the project. Superlocal, unlike many other school projects, is a realistic project which is being carried out by construction professionals in real time. On the one hand, this ensures that you are dealing with current issues, so the study program links directly to the reality. And on the other hand, it makes it much easier for you to come in contact with the construction professionals in the field. And I think that's really valuable for any young professional on Zuid University or any university in that respect. And I also think that due to the realistic character of this project, it motivates a student much more than any other conventional school project would be able to. I myself, I live in Kerkrade, so I would regularly pass by the Superlocal site. And in a way, it motivates you so much more when you see things being built that you are currently working on in school at the same time. That's just very cool, and is really a unique selling point of the Superlocal project. That was my presentation, and if there are any questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat.
Thank you very much, Niels, for your presentation. There was indeed a question from Omid, and he asked you, would you please tell us about the circular built environment principles which you have been used in the project? Can you briefly answer that question, Niels?
Yeah, of course. Wait, I already stopped sharing my screen, but that was not really handy. I need to share my screen once more. Yes. So I will go back to the circular design checklist that I developed. After doing my research on this topic, the circularity, I discovered that that it's a very complex thing. Circularity is not just simple. It's made up out of a lot of different things that once again get combined. But after doing my research, I discovered that there are 4 leading principles. That first of all, it's a flexible design. So summarized, that's basically a design that can be adapted to future renovations or future functions of the building. Secondly, you need to build a building in such a way that it is detachable in the future, that all the parts can be taken away and be used for example, another building elsewhere. You need to minimize the impact on the environment. So basically, this means that you need to be careful while choosing the materials in your design. It's best to choose renewable materials, for example. And last but not least, you need to make your design in such a way that there are as few materials used as possible. If you can limit the usage of materials, the more friendly the building design is for the environment.
There is another question, Niels, and it's the last questions because unfortunately the time's already up. Could you briefly respond on the question, Niels? Did you work with material passports in your project?
Although material passports are a huge part of contemporary construction projects, I did not work with those simply due to the fact that I only had a limited amount of time to do my graduation project and write my bachelor thesis, and it was already getting so complex because of the multiple themes that were combined, like circularity and social cohesion, and also designing a building and then make technical drawings, that I simply did not use material passports. But that's definitely something that I could recommend for anyone who is busy with the same sort of project. Okay.
Well, thank you very much, Niels, for this presentation. It's also, the time is up, and half an hour is short about discussing how we try to also train our students, our future professionals about circularity. However, what we try to showcase here today is also that, well, first, that our students are important ambassadors to the construction industry to introduce circularity and circular building in their businesses. So we really believe that that's at the forefront of starting the transition to a circular built environment. And secondly, well, we try to showcase also with this presentation of Niels that, well, students are quite enthusiastic about it. They are interested in the topic. And what we try to showcase is that students also can learn something, and it's really a meaningful project for them to develop their skills in the field of circular construction. Of course, if you have any additional questions about the specifics of our educational projects, or you maybe have even suggestions to improve that, yeah, we are open for that. So feel free to contact me also after this session. But for now, I'd like to thank you all, and I close this session, and hopefully you can join now one of the other sessions and interesting insights from the other parts of the project or the other scientific sessions about different topics about circular building. Thank you. Niels, een laatste woord aan jou. Die doe ik gewoon in het Nederlands. Dankjewel dat je dit hebt willen doen vandaag.
Geen probleem.
Uitdaging om het in het Engels te doen. Goed gedaan.
Dank u wel. Ja, het was een uitdaging, maar ik hoop dat dat een beetje is wat u in de gedachten had.
Zeker, je hebt het op een enthousiaste manier verteld. Dus daar waren we naar op zoek. Dankjewel.
Top.
Ik moet je helaas in de sessie ook zelf verlaten, omdat ik weer verwacht word in een volgende sessie.
Geen probleem. Ik ga nog een beetje rondneuzen, denk ik, op het
Ja, dat zou ik zeker doen. Ga ook eens even kijken bij de virtual tour, zoals ik je net zei. Dat kan je doen,
precies.
Dat kan je doen vanuit de lobby.
Yes, oké.